everybody, good morning and welcome to another session of Reaper Pro Tips. Kiki knows her cue. Good girl. Yeah, with me, your host, Anne, currently being licked and nibbled, and Quindy, far away from licks and nibbles, and Justin and John, immune to licks and nibbles. Hi. I just remembered I forgot to get a refreshed shoe, so I have to go do that. One second. I do not want to be the shoe. I do not want to be the shoe. One moment. Let me get a refreshed bully stick. Well, a fresh bully. Yeah. Hi. Oh, you're a good girl. Oh, fresh. Oh, this is a fat one. You ready? Are you ready? What are you going to do? Sit. You out. Can you be good? You need to chew that. You've got that look in your face. She's got that look on her face, guys. I don't trust her, so I shut her out. So she's at least got a yeah, so far she hasn't gone virtual. So far Cerberus, mini Cerberus is not virtual. It's fitting that I'm a miniature painter and I have a mini Cerberus. Like when she starts growing the second head, then we're in trouble, Quindy. Then we're in trouble. It's when the psychic powers kick in. That needs to be a short story. I need to write that short story, guys. Much as I hate short fiction, I need to write that short story about somebody who gets a puppy that starts to grow a second head and get psychic powers. Why not? What could go wrong? But anyway, oh my God. It's Yellow Day. Yellow Day. Hey, did you all see Rhonda's video? And if not, you should go watch it. Rhonda's video on her YouTube, she went up, she made a Patreon post about it. It's on her blog, so you can get to it from there, birdwithabrush.com, about Reaper is doing 3D prints now. One-off 3D prints. Mass-produced 3D prints. And so, yeah, so I was already going to order a Kathy Waffle, so now I will order one of those as well, and we'll give it a whirl here on the stream. Yeah. All the plugs to Rhonda. Yes, give her all the lovin's, all the follows, all the likes, lots of likes. She had a lot of views on that video yesterday already. So go forth and spread it around, actually. If you're on a social network or a miniatures forum, like spread the love and say, hey guys, Reaper's actually producing 3D prints now. Look. What I really liked from that video, and this was the big thing that the first thing David says is, oh, it's way too brittle of a material. But I checked it, and she actually does wobble the spearhead. It has flexibility. So they're doing a flexible resin, which is a very smart call because, you know, that's going to be a lot more resistant to breaking. Right, Agent Marble. They need to watch this video. If there are people who are concerned, this is why she did the video. So... But they're, you know, she got a bunch of them shipped to her in a bag with just a little bit of packing and, you know, in a box with the Postal Service. You know how that goes. But everybody arrived intact. So that reassured me when I saw her do, because it's a lot like, is this guy Bones USA? Yeah. Yeah, it's the same sort of flex, maybe a little bit, even a little bit extra that's in our Bones USA. So this is actually cool. Like, that was my big concern, too. That would be my concern with small figures because they've got these spears and swords and everything. Yeah, exactly. So spread the word, guys. And anybody who says, oh, say, no, this is a flexible resin. I watched her bend it on the stream. It's still, you know, it's firm enough to give great detail. Obviously, that's why you go to resin, 3D printed resin or otherwise. But it has about the same sort of flex as our Bones USA. So, yeah, definitely... talk to peeps about it. You guys are our best weapon. Like, there are a lot of people who are going to hear that and do exactly what those concerned people did. Say, oh my gosh, it's going to break. So whenever you hear somebody or see somebody, like, perpetrating that, like, link them to the video and say, no, it's flexible. Here, watch I don't remember the exact point in the video, but it's early on where she's talking about concerns. But she actually does, so. Well, it's not even subpar, right? Like, I like firm 3D resin. Like, I like firm resin in general. I always liked the hardest resin, even though it was the most brittle. I just liked the feel of it. I liked working with it. I liked removing mold lines from it and prepping it. So it's not like it's subpar. It's just different, right? Because in Reaper's market, you can't go for that because of the brittleness and the small pieces. So it isn't that it's subpar to do a brittle resin. In fact, I love statues done in brittle resin, but it is more breakable. And so you have to go into it with that mindset and ask yourself what you're doing. And if you're doing a gaming piece, it makes sense to do flexible resin as opposed to a brittle resin. So yeah. That would make a good one, Pendrake. It's too bad I'm not there anymore. We could totally throw it at them. Reaper Evolution. That's what they should call it, right? They should call it that. But yeah, so cool. Hey, Turgeon, are you out there? I need a Turgeon. I need to see if Turgeon is here today. Yes, I need to thank you. Your website heads up yesterday actually helped me fix something. So I actually wanted to go back around and say thank you for saying something, because when I went into my settings last night and started really fishing around, I saw that my SSL certificate hadn't been triggered, and then I was able to go down the rabbit hole and talk to a help desk and get a whole bunch of stuff done to enable that, so now everything should be cool. And it was all because you said something. So yeah, so I wanted to send you a thank you. Texas was thought out. Good. But yeah, so I wanted to tell you that. So the website should be cool now. It shouldn't, and I had to put a www on the front of it too. But apparently it'll redirect anyway. So like web stuff, guys. Web stuff. Like this is why I looked into becoming a web developer at one point, because I do love designing websites, but oh my gosh, like the fiddly crap, all the settings and all the, and then you do this and you have to go check it and then you have to go back and do another thing or a different thing or something or this first and then that. And just saying, that's my feeling on website design. That's me. But yes. Oh, yay! Raiding the Kitten Clubhouse. Yeah, it just seems subpar, Agent Marvel. I know. When it's not subpar is when it's bigger items, right? And bigger items that are well packed, and really what you want is display items, right? So actually, I don't think I've ever showed you guys this guy on. Of course, my Widowmaker. My Widowmaker is totally attached to it. So totally ignore the Widowmaker grapple attached to this statue. But for example, when Forge World first started, this was one of the things they put out. It's long out of print. I love Tyranids. I primed over what I was originally doing, by the way, on purpose, because I was just like, I didn't like that color. So someday I'll get back to it. But it's a beautiful piece, and what you get when you've got this really brittle resin is you've got incredible detail. So really, really fine, beautiful detail that you can get with the very brittle resin. So I loved that this piece was done in that brittle resin, and even the tongue hasn't broken off, but that's because it's a display model, right? So you aren't going to play with it, so that makes more sense. But I do love this piece with the Hormigaunt coming up through the floor. I think it's a shame they decided, essentially Forge World decided after doing some statues like that wasn't what they were aiming for, and they went to back to gaming pieces because that was their market. But I'm glad I got that one because it was actually my all-time favorite Forge World piece. Tyranids were my first army, so I really like them. Kurnico. Right, yeah, it's way out of print, and it was one of the early ones, too, because I got it, like, right after Forge World launch, I think. Yeah, exactly. Since it's bigger, the thin parts aren't really thin, right, exactly. So, but again, it's like, that's what you would do for a high-quality statue. You wouldn't do it for gaming models. So, it makes sense in that context, which is, I think, yeah. It's just, it's purpose. We're back to purpose, right? The purpose of the thing. Should always be like your deciding factor on material and what you're doing. It's awesome though. It's such an awesome statue. I really should paint it. I really should, but then I have such a hard time because Tyranids can be any color, and because I don't have a Tyranid army anymore, I don't have like a preference. So I'm like, what should I do? I could do anything. So, but yeah, it is a cool statue. I really love it. So, yeah. I've been carrying that around for like well over 2 decades at this point, probably about 25 years. Still staring at it. But it's like, it's still out, right? It's around. So someday, I will just decide. I will just make myself. I don't know. I don't know if it is Agent Marvel. Not sure. That's a good question. I don't know enough about 3D printing at this point to actually answer it. Hello, Grey Wolf. Oh, my. Oh, now Kiki's going to get super excited. But she's got her fresh bully stick and she's lying out there. So, Grey Wolf with the 24 months. Double sub-anniversary, double sub-anniversary, double sub-anniversary. Happy double sub-anniversary. There. I'm not that into it, Pendrick. It's like, if I was like, must decide. But I've been carrying this thing around for ages, so. It's more, okay, so I don't really do it that way, though. Like, it's funny. I look at the model, usually when I'm cleaning it, and, like, I will just kind of, like, let it sit in the back of my head. And I let it stew, and from time to time, I just kind of toss, like, kind of a random color scheme in my head onto it. Like, do I want to do red? How about a light green? You know, I'll just, like, do that, and I'll wait until something clicks. I'll wait until something lights up in my head and goes, yeah, that would be fun. So it's like, I could try doing Photoshop stuff. Honestly, for me, takes so long and takes so much away from my other things that you guys know, my schedule is full, full. So it's impractical for me to do that, but I've never needed to do the Photoshop thing. I did do, like, I will sometimes do just swatches. Like, if I have 2 different color schemes that I'm waffling between, I'll do a swatch sketch of one and a swatch sketch of the other. Kind of like Derek Schubert does, but I'll just, like, do a little stick figure and put the colors next to each other. And then, essentially, like, that'll give me a decider, right? Is, oh, that definitely looks better than that, or I like that better than that, or I'm going to enjoy painting that better than that. But with things like this, and this is, actually I talk about this is the big resistance thing, the big stuck point that a lot of us get on when we have one-of-a-kind models, right? Because I'm never going to be able to get another one of those, ever. So I have to decide on a scheme that I really like for it. So yeah. Measure 23 times and never cut once. But yeah, so actually, yeah, it takes so long for me in Photoshop that I just don't do it that way. But I do, like, eventually I will come up with a color scheme. If I put the model in front of me down here and started really concentrating and thinking about it, then I'd probably have a color scheme within a week. No, it's done. Like, Forge World Hormigaunt probably would be what you want. I don't remember what the actual title of it is, and I've lost the box long ago. But yeah, I suspect that the few people who have these treasure them because they know how rare they are. God knows what I could, if I put a top-notch paint job on it now, God knows what I could sell it for. But I love it. I don't want to sell it. So yeah. Ooh, yuck, windy, Cornico. That's not good. Yeah, it's definitely a painting day. But yeah, so alrighty, I guess we should paint and talk. Paint and talk. I think I want to put the bronze in. I was talking about maybe doing yellow fins on this and seeing what I could do. I think I'm going to do kind of a sneaky thing. So let's try to do an inverted kind of funky thing where we do, because I was going to do yellow here, right? But I also was thinking about putting some yellow onto the white, kind of like it did down there. So let's do the underpainting with the pink on the outer edges of the wings on the gem, which I'm going to call them wings, even though they're cross. And then let's kind of blend it to white toward here. And then let's do the inverted on this. So we'll do the brown kind of color that we got down here, and we'll put that toward the center of these the little white inlays. Let's try that. Let's see what that looks like. It might not work. It might not work, but I kind of want to still be using the colors. Yeah, resin and cats. Bad combo. Bad combo. All right, I'm maybe gonna go a little double down on this. I might actually start with Runic Glow, but I might actually put some actual magenta glaze around the outside of this just to see what I get. So let's get this set up. And Anubis is totally in the way. Anubis, why are you in my way? Anubis is just like a dog. He's just underfoot. Hey, Thormil. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. All right, Runic Glow, white, magenta, and then white, and then yellow, sorry. Okie dokie. Let's get this out real quick, and I'm just going to do a lot of wet blending probably between the Runic Glow and the whites, so I'm just going to, oh. That was you freezing, Pendrick, not me. Once I'm not freezing. It's supposed to be 60 today. I forgot to check it. Are any of you in Arizona? Around the Phoenix area? What's the weather like lately, if so? I know Bob and Julie are like there, but I haven't seen them on, so. Oh, has it been amazing? You're in AZ, Big Chimpo? Yeah, I'm going down to see my folks next weekend, so I was asking. Oh, you have folks up in Phoenix? Yeah, okay. Folks up in Phoenix. What's it been like? I know it gets cold at night, but what's the daytime temperature? I'm trying to figure out what I have to bring with me for clothing. Probably the same stuff as up here. All right. But yes, it'll be Kiki's first Arizona. And we'll see if my parents forbid her to come back. Just mixing up my paint. I'm going to do a 4-to-1 with the Runic Glow because it's not super high coverage. And I'm going to do a 4-to-1 with the magenta because it's super transparent. So even a little bit of thinning goes a long way with that. Oh, mid-70s. Nice! Oh, I'm going to be so happy. Kiki's not going to be happy. She's going to be like, why did you take me to this warm place? But that's great. Super awesome. That's why I love Arizona in the winter. Like, I always try to go in February. Because I feel like it's like just beautiful weather. And it's so much better than so many other places. I think a lot of people go to Florida in the winter, but dang, I think Arizona's better. I like Arizona. 43 right there, right where you are. And that's about what it is right here. See what we're at. See what we're at here. My phone is like 49 here, actually. 49 here. So a little bit up. Kiki's will have a nice walk. We'll have a really nice walk. All right. So I went 2-to-1 on the white. That may have been too thin. I'm going to pop actually 1 drop back in. I'm just looking at it, how it's coming off the side of the palette, and it's really transparent. So I'm going to add 1 more. I do want it a little more solid than that. So, you know, ask yourself again, what are you intending to do with the paint? And add paint back in if you need to. Sometimes you thin and you think you got the ratio right, but it just doesn't look right. You just got to listen to your gut on that. Or you try to paint with it and it isn't acting right, and then you got to adjust. It's just the way it is. Yeah, now it's more like what I would expect. Yeah, refresh it, Twistedoma. All right, here we go. Bop. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I like myself a road trip if I can like get some me time and thinking time. And Kiki is not a baby puppy this time, so I won't be stressed out about that. The trip with Kiki was just stressful because she was such a baby and she hadn't had vaccinations, and we were going to all these places, and she did actually catch, you know, one of the coccidia. She got one of those, you know, from the trip. So even with my stressing out, I still didn't succeed. I think I need more Runic Glow. Runic Glow went real thin, real fast. Sometimes, too, you might want to just add a drop of pure white to your Runic Glow. like do like 5 or 6 drops of Runic Glow with a drop of pure white, and that is going to aid coverage a lot without changing the color too much. Plus I have my clear magenta, so essentially I can always add in a little bit more magenta to darken down my Runic Glow again after I've added that white. That's good, Tristoma. Yeah, the yellows are great on her, and so we're going to continue with them. So this is the pink underpainting of yellow as we've been working on for a bit. So I want it out toward the outside of these fins. I want to have more like this. And I'll just put on another coat, but I'm just trying to kind of fade it in a little bit here. Then I'll put a magenta glaze over the top of it. If I try to wet blend with the magenta, it's not going to give me great results because it's such a transparent color. But it'll glaze just and layer just fine. So this tends to be all the magentas. The only way to get magenta to really cover is if it's quite thick. So we'll let that set. And I'm actually going to mix up some magenta and lantern to get that brown color with just a touch, I believe, of the brown liner, if I recall correctly, because I want to put that in as well. I'll need to shake that up better. But yeah, so we did underpaint the belt with white instead of the pink. We actually went back in and shaded it with the pink instead. So that's, you can see still the difference in lightness. There, and let's put this in there. And let's mix that up and see what I've got. I'm doing a 2-to-1 yellow to magenta, and what essentially that gets us is this really bright orange. But we have brown liner as a color on this, so I'm going to add just a tiny touch of brown liner. Just like not even a full drop. Little tiny bit on the side of the palette. See that? Little dot. And now we're at where we need to be. Perfect. Perfect. So now we've got a nice warm brown that's based on our magenta and our lantern yellow. The key is not to load in very much because the black in the brown liner is going to hit this really hard, as you can see. But now it's where it needs to be. So, and that is the color that we were using to shade the white. So that's what I wanted. I'm going to add some white to it. Yeah, it is really orange. Even though the magenta is actually a blue-red and the yellow we're using is warm, it still makes a pretty darn bright orange. I'm putting just a tad of white in here to bring it up to the level where I want it for a shadow. So even though it looks like I lightened that a lot, when you compare it to the white, it's still very dark. And so we were using Osirian sand, I think, with a little bit of yellow in it, a little bit of candlelight yellow in it for our white. But mostly I want this for an undercoat. All right. So yeah, this is a lot of underpainting, but I mean, when you put the yellow, you can put the yellow in one coat over the top, and then it's like all good. So I want to put this in here. And I guess I should probably get my Osirian sand, but I can use white for now. I just use white and wet blend it a little bit. Do it like that. And I probably will need my liner to touch up stuff after I do all this, since I'm painting both sides of this, and I've already, this is why you don't pre-line, by the way. Usually, I wanted to get that in there as almost like underpainting, but it is a danger that you're going to paint over all your lines. It happens. So do be aware of that. I'm going to take my magenta and hit the very outsides of this these cross wings. So very, very outside. And I'm going to take my Runic Glow and kind of blend that in a little. And as the runic glue gets toward the middle, that's where I really want to bring in white. Because wherever it's white is where my yellow is going to be brightest when I put it over the top. And I want the gem to be darker. So that's why we're doing kind of this inverted thing. I'm putting the white next to the darker yellow and what'll turn out being more brown. And I'm doing more of the darker orange on the outside here where it's white. So that's what we're trying to do. So that I can essentially make all parts of the shield yellow, but because I'm inverting the dark and the light, it should still stand out. The design should still stand out. I just wanted to try it. She's such a yellow. Yellow is our theme here, so I wanted to double down on the yellow in all ways. We're totally going to do like bronze armor on her also. So I'm just blocking this in on the cross. So yeah, once again, for people who have not, we're not on right away, if you've not watched Rhonda Bender's video on the new 3D prints that Reaper is doing, you should go look. Like, part of my brain is like, did they hire a bunch of people to clean these suckers? They must have. They must have put like several people into the print cleaning department. It used to be just Daryl with Kevin as an adjunct, you know, as like helping out if things got hot. But I suspect if you're going to production line 3D prints, you've got to have a few people hired to or transition to cleaning. So I'm doing a little bit of just blending out, bringing my runic back in, grabbing my magenta to put the dark shadows in at the ends here. And again, this pink is all just going to be covered over by yellow. But yeah, Rhonda did a whole video on the new Reaper 3D prints, and she talks about any fragility concerns you may have, and she talks about how to clean them, what kind of cleaning that what kind of things you're going to see on them as far as artifacts, and generally how to get a good result. What to do to get them ready for painting, since you do want to prime those. She always, one thing that Rhonda and I disagree on is the necessity of priming Bones USA, because I don't prime, as you can see, I do not prime my Bones USA, but she does. And, you know, she's probably right, because she does really strenuous testing as far as, you know, how good the paint sticks. And it may be that the Bones USA without primer rub off a little bit easier than the Bones or Bones Black, because it's a totally different material, right? It's Siocast instead of Bones material. So she's probably right on that, and you definitely can prime your Bones USA. I just am when it says Bones, I'm like on autopilot not to prime it. We do both wash the figures, though, so. But it's just an example. You can have two very good mini painters doing, like, totally different prep work or like, technique, and you're still going to get a good result, so. That's why, you know, just finding somebody who kind of, you know, validates that your methodology is not flawed is good, and then just go with it. Like, so there we go. The pink, although the pink kind of looks nice now, and I'm kind of thinking of keeping it. What do you guys think? I'm going to keep blending it and see, but I do like the pink. The pink is kind of pretty. I do like the pink. I do. I do not, I was very, very set on painting over it, and I'm like, but it's kind of pretty. But you see how dark the magenta makes the edges along with the lining there. I was going to do the whole thing yellow. Like, honestly, I was doing a lot of yellow on this sucker Crowley. I was going to do yellow on the wings completely, just like the yellow here, and I was going to do the white on the outside like the white here. So I was really doubling down, and that lets me make the gem pink and purpley, and I kind of like that idea, so I probably will do that and not keep too much pink, because this is a lot of pink. It looks good, but it is a lot of pink. So anywhere that is white, the way that this underpainting works is that anywhere that is white is going to be a bright yellow. And anywhere that is a little bit pink is going to be an orangey color, orangey yellow. And anywhere that is dark pink is going to be a dark orange. Just like you see, you know, on the back here, some of the pink might show through. But here's the front is more of indicative of how it actually turns out. So the dark orange, the pink part is here. But yeah. And this is much darker, actually, since I'm going with straight magenta. This is darker than this, so it may actually go browner. Yeah, I'm keeping the pink inside the robes. I just don't want to go too pink on the outside, because I really want this model to be about yellow. Because we paint so little yellow. But it is one of those hard to paint colors. I kind of wish my parents lived closer. I would totally get them to watch Kiki while I went to Adepticon, but because they are more likely to be tolerant of her puppy foibles. There we go. So just some quick layering just to make the white really pop out in the middle here. Yeah, and that's an experiment, and it may or may not work, right, Big Chimpo? Like, but it's a thought. If I wanted to do a yellowy color, you know, that would enable me to make them different, right, by alternating. So I don't know how well it will work, but we have time to judge it, so. So I'm not getting smooth layering with this white. It looks smooth on camera, but it's really not. But we don't need smooth layering here in the underpainting, because when we put our yellow over the top, it's going to smooth everything out. See, I need to do a Reaper order, which means I need to take stock of my paint right now and see what I'm low on. Probably need some fire red. I'm using a lot of fire red lately. There we go. So that kind of glow fade is fun to do, and it's definitely a layering technique. You could get this with wet blending, but in general, you're just going to get a lot more control over things like this with layering, which is why layering like just never dies as a technique. But if you want it smooth, Master Series is your paint of choice, because it's a lot harder to do it with other paints. Vallejo is, you can do it with Vallejo game color, or model color, sorry. It just takes a lot of thinning, but I'm still having trouble getting it to go with scale color or Chimera. And what I'm kind of suspecting, like I'm kind of curious about this, there's no way to really test it, but not now that I don't have access to a paint department. But I'm kind of wondering if more pigment is actually bad for layering. Because a higher pigment load, you know, every brushful, even when you thin, is going to have more pigment in it. And so I kind of wonder if that's why. Because those paints are very high pigment. Master Series is relatively high pigment. It's certainly high pigment for a hobby paint line, but we didn't like push the threshold because it tends to hurt adhesion. So there are some paints that really do push the threshold with Reaper. I would say Russet Brown is one of them. And by pushing the threshold, I mean that there comes a point in a paint that you cannot load the base anymore, or the paint will just not dry. It just won't set or have any adhesion. Well, I just do it by weight. I mean, most of the time, Pendrake. I can usually tell just when it gets light that it's, and also I can just tell by listening to how the rattler goes. Like, you really can tell if the bottle is really light and like the rattle goes, but the paint, you know, still, maybe you have to tip it upside down a lot to get it to come out. You can just get a sense of it. Also, when you notice that the bottle, when it's really lightweight and it clogs a lot, that's just because there's a lot of air, because there's a lot less paint. So there's a lot less fluid, and so there's less moisture keeping the paint wet, so it will clog more. Brown oxide is honestly the most useful of the oxides, in my opinion. Big Chimpo. Reaper is, in fact, particularly Reaper's brown oxide. I have run the Chimera brown oxides through my testing, and none of them are as versatile with mixing like warm browns as the Reaper. The Reaper one is just really, it's really red and really, so that's pretty. Yeah, let's do that. If you're gonna mix, like, just get all of them. But I find the brown oxide is the most useful. It's just unique, even compared to other pure pigments. Like, I cannot mix the colors with the Chimera brown oxides that I can with the Reaper brown oxide. Which makes those Chimera brown oxides a lot less useful. Although they do have a golden brown one that's useful. Because otherwise it would be so hard to mix those colors. Oh, pardon me, sneeze time. Just an itchy nose too. Dear me. Something's got to be in the air. Allergies coming in. But yeah, so it isn't necessarily check the level as much as it lift it up, see if it feels lightweight to me, Pendrake, and just go with it from there. You all know how heavy a paint bottle feels when you first get it, so. If it's a color I use a lot, when my bottle just starts to get a bit light, I'll order a backup. That way I have it. So we've got that coming in. Yeah, sorry, Hal. Yep, Quindy. Oh, that's a good idea. Mac Attack, you're funny. All right, so now, though, I do also want some shading down on the bottom of the shield. So I'm going to actually extend this a little bit. And I'll come back in and pick it up a bit, but I want to get that in. All right. Now I think we're ready for our yellow glaze on the middle. Just getting some liner so I can touch up things because I can sense that I'm going to need to touch up things. So all right, now we are to putting our candlelight yellow over the top of the pink. And for those who wonder why I'm using candlelight instead of lantern, as these are, you know, like lantern is more of a pure pigment, clear bright, and candlelight has white in it. But the reason is that if you use a color that already has white in it, it makes it easier to build highlights by adding more white. So, okay, now I need to get a few drops of the candlelight out. Oh, I've got a clog. Clog! I wonder if I still have a Vallejo around here. So I think I do. Yeah, actually, here we do. We do have. Maybe I'll I'm doing a for my $5 PDF. I'm going to post my $2 content today for the Patreon, but for my $5 PDF, I'm actually doing a thinning thing. So like how to thin, how much to thin various brands of paint, various types of paint, for various techniques. And maybe I'll add Vallejo into there because I have a Vallejo. All right, I'm going to go add 2 drops of water there. I'm thinning my candlelight yellow to get it to the right level. I'm going to start out just thinning it, not very much at all. It's a 2-to-1. But remember, I want this strong. It needs to be strong enough to make a really solid coat. Really, Moon Yellow, at least when it was, Moon Yellow is based on Bad Moon Yellow, and it actually should be closest to Clear Yellow or Canary. And when you put these next to each other, you can see the difference. Yeah, this will look lighter on white paper. But yeah, so I know, yeah, Moon Yellow was an equivalent for the old Bad Moon Yellow, which was a green shade yellow. So if I was going to recommend either Clear Yellow or Canary on it, honestly. Canary is a little bit, like, Clear Yellow does have a tiny bit of white in it, just because otherwise it did not cover for anything. Not making it not a true clear bright, but Canary is the real thing, but that was after we started using high density pigments. Yeah, the substrate, I mean, as long as they're all swatched on white paper, you'll be fine, Big Chimpo. The important thing is consistency. And white is as good as anything, although often putting a stripe of black through your swatches before you swatch is interesting and instructive and will tell you how much coverage things really have. Kind of like Golden when they do that black and white hazard stripes on their labels and they paint a stripe of paint over it. So you can see how the paint looks over black and over white. Because some paints will look like they have high coverage over white, but when you paint them over black, you see they really don't. Really? Maybe they shifted it, Big Chimpo. Because they do that. Companies totally change it. But originally, when they first came out with Game Color, that was the plan. It was to essentially jump off of GW's existing line at that time, and that actually was one of the things that led to Games Workshop doing the system they now have, and also using all those weird names that you can't remember. Yeah, it's very cold. It's a cold yellow, Richard. So a lot of people, the reason that Vallejo could have shifted it or would have shifted it is that warm yellows like this one are a lot more popular. So, but Canary is very cold. It's very close to neon yellow. And yeah, it's totally good for modern stuff. But a lot of people consider a orange yellow more natural looking. So that's why you probably get that impression, Richard. Yeah, we did our cold yellow on Lizette, who is now in Ron's hands, so I cannot show you to her. Show her to you, rather. All right, so I'm going to try a 2-to-1 here, and I'm going to do each arm separately. I need to be pretty targeted because I can't just put it over the whole cape, right? I'm trying to keep it off of the surrounding color. Yeah, no, there are 3 different yellow pigments in the world. Green shade yellow, which is like canary and clear yellow. Orange shade yellow, which is lantern and candlelight. And yellow ochre, yellow oxide. Those are your yellows. Technically, raw sienna also counts as a yellow, but since most lines don't have that per se, I'm not counting it. So I'm just doing a very simple, and since this is a 2-to-1, it's very thick, so it's not really a glaze, and I don't have to worry about leaving puddling paint. I can leave puddling paint all day. It's not a big deal, because I'm not breaking it. Yeah, you wouldn't want to go less than a 2-to-1 on this because then your pink, I went a little less than 2-to-1 and then my pink ended up showing through on the back, which I actually don't mind. It's kind of cool looking, so I'm keeping it. I'll just probably also touch in with some of this brown that I mixed up to give some of the shadows a little bit darker of a hue. But yeah, so that's where you end up then. And now I'm going to grab my Osirian sand and put a tiny bit of candlelight yellow in it so we can finish the interior of the shield. I feel like I should order like 3 more bottles of Osirian sand. I'm just going to use it till the freaking cows come home. Like, it's my replacement for linen white. I don't buy linen white anymore. So yeah, and you can see that the color is the same in the shadows here as it is down there. And I like that. Yeah, I like that a lot better than the pink. Because it brings that, because we've got so much yellow on the back, but we've actually only got touches of yellow on the front. So since I wanted this model to very much be yellow, going with the yellow on the shield actually is really good. This was candlelight over the magenta runic glow and white, yes. 2-to-1. Maybe I should do a PDF on this for the Patreon. Do you guys want me to do like a $2? Maybe I'll do a $2 PDF for next month. I'm looking for subjects for my next month, so I can do this and it'll be a nice quick $2 PDF. I'll just have to find a new mini to kind of show it on. Yes, when I give a number to number, it's always paint to water. So 1 to 2 would be 2 drops of water, 1 drop of paint. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do it for the Patreon, guys. Oh, I need to put a little bit of candlelight into my... Tiny bit of candlelight into my Osirian. Make it warm up. And then a little bit of white, because I need it lighter. Pendrake, actually, cutting out stills is like too... It's not it's like counterintuitive to me still, and also it's not high res enough. Like I could take a much better photo that's much crisper and much higher res to do a PDF with. Stills would be for somebody who was used to cutting out stills, it would be super fast and intuitive. I'm not, so it would take me too long to learn how to do it and to do it well. I would actually probably be faster just just doing the painting. But yeah, sometimes when you've done stuff non-electronically for so very long, it just is much better for you to just do it the way you're used to doing it. I am still going to darken this down. I'm going to bring my color over the top, but I'm going to go a little bit back and forth on this, the white on the outer edges. It still works. It's still reading as white down here. I just want to make sure my blending is a little bit is decent, and it kind of flows a little bit. Lighten up and touch up a few places. But yeah, mostly it's the high res. Like you can pluck stuff off of streams, but it's not necessarily good to put in a PDF because you can get much better resolution just taking pictures. I'll just essentially what I'll do is I'll take a picture of this model at this stage and include it as an extra reference. But it's not like I don't have extra models lying around that I could paint yellow. So, and it doesn't take that long to do this. So I'll just grab something that has a cape and I'll just do it that way. Yeah, I really like this model in yellow. It's a great like Sun Priestess, Dawn Priestess kind of like feel. Yeah. And even though we used the same color as we did, this color technically on the edges is kind of the same color as we're using to shade the outside, but because we're keeping it light and because it's like over the white, it looks different. I'm putting just a real thin coat of the white over the top just to lighten it up just a little bit. And we get, I think it's quite light up here, which is good. And I'm just going to kind of tone things up here, blend them in. And then up at the top, we'll do some real light, we'll go pure white. Yeah, it's just for, because it'll become harder to go back and search for this video, I will I'll do the PDF. And since I do love yellow, it's just an excuse to paint something else yellow. Maybe I need to grab a bust and just do something on it. Oh, it's faster to do a small model, but I wonder if I have anything that I want to paint yellow already that I should just do. Now this does kind of show you how effective using colored underpainting can be. And there are some painters like Nat DiPietro who always use colored underpainting and who teach it. And it's not just magenta. Sometimes it's magenta, blue. Magenta, blue, and yellow have all been used as underpainting. Technically green could also be. But yeah, once you understand how color goes over the top of other color, that's what that is useful for, is like if you're trying to build an understanding of how colors interact, both in mixes and when you like put them over each other, this kind of thing, playing with this sort of technique, it's time consuming at first, but it does give you lovely results. The key is though that you have to be using thinned paint over the top to really get the effect. I'm just going in with pure white on the top here just to really bring up this part of the shield and make it evident that it is white. There. And then we have a nice blended effect. I'm going to get a little bit more in here. That's looking pretty. Now the next thing we could do is grab some white, mix it with our candlelight, and do a very, very pale ring around the center. We could use our Osirian sand mixture for this as well, but I don't want to cross the streams with the shield too much. So I just want to get I'm going to mix a little bit of candlelight with white and just do a kind of a lined highlight right around the middle. Maybe bring it out a little. So after you do your candlelight glaze, you can come in and do further highlights and bring it out more. Same thing I did over here. Richard, there were a couple of different Dark Elf triads, actually. The other one was the Dusky Skin triad, which I actually liked better than the Dark Elf triad. When we were looking at Dark Elves, I was looking at a lot of different art from classic D&D. And I also was talking to a lot of people, and a lot of people liked the purpley gray unnatural skin color. The other school was more of a purpley brown, which is what Derek Schubert preferred, but a lot of people were using Volcano Brown for that, which was still in print at that time. Then I think Volcano went out, I put Dusky Skin in, and Dusky Skin was always my favorite, which is the far more brown Dark Elf color. I like a more naturalistic Dark Elf without the gray. The gray is also, in my opinion, problematic because it makes it very hard to choose other colors for the model. You've got to mute everything, and you've got very limited choices to make it look good. So the answer is there are as many different colors of Dark Elf skin as there are like TSR Wizards of the Coast D&D artists. And so I was just referencing those, and there were a couple different schools of them. So yeah, Dusky Skin is my favorite. Really? There's a Great British Sewing Bee? Ah, I need to watch this. I mean, I love to bake, and I don't sew, but I knit. So maybe I'd still like it. But yeah, so the answer is there are lots of different Dark Elf colors that even D&D has published, and so I just looked at what had gone before. It's very wholesome. Yeah, but even different artists did it different, right? Like there's the black Dark Elf skin and I did a PDF on this, I think, a while ago on my Patreon. I want to say it was in the first year. Maybe it was like in 2020, though. I've lost it. But yeah, I did essentially a comparison of different Dark Elf skin tones and showed how they look. It's PDF, and you probably could find it with Dark Elf skin, searching a keyword, maybe, I don't know. Non-human skin tones, maybe, too. Don't remember. It was a long time ago, almost 3 years at this point. So, but yeah, and there's my Patreon, patreon.com/paintingbig, and my YouTube, which has some nice fundamentals videos on it. So those are cool. And yeah, so really the reason you choose a different Dark Elf skin over another is to give yourself different color options, in my opinion. Or you just think Dark Elves need to be X color. And people have pretty strong opinions about Dark Elf skin tones. So, painting Dark Elf skin from 2020 May. Thank you, Big Chimpo. Yeah, it's almost 3 years. Yeah, I love the fact that I've used keywords from the beginning. Like, Patreon has gotten a lot more searchable. It used to be terrible, and so I was keywording everything. I still do. I think it's just the way to do it so you guys can find what you need fast. I'm going to put white over this brown, but not over totally. And actually I need to be doing this in reverse, so depending. Okay, so if this gem is translucent, then we need the dark portion to go up at the top. I was kind of doing it like just like a opaque gem, but if I can do a big translucent one. Round oval gem means oval shadows and oval highlights. So I'm going to put it dark. I'm going to leave some light around the edge though. Thanks, Baba. Yeah, I always had trouble searching other Patreons I was a part of, and so when I started mine, I'm like, I want everybody to be able to find crap, because I'm not going to have the energy to go back and find it for them. That's just a waste of time. So yeah, I'm glad that it works. I'm going to grab more white. We're going to blend this in. This is the GW style of gem, as I like to call it. So let's double down. And we're going to do a glaze over this too, by the way. We're going to try it. So I'm going to double down on the dark spot here. Then I'm going to lighten up the underside, under edge, where I want the light. It's tough to paint. Yeah, it is. It is tough to paint to do the black skin, and it really makes it hard to bring out features. Because painting black is rough enough for painters, right? Getting it to look good. So yeah, the PDF will like just show you different options that I've done. But yeah, a lot of thought goes into it. I mean, okay, when I was Paintmeister, a lot of thought went into it. I don't know who's in charge now, and I don't know what their process is, but my process has always been to think a lot about things. And that's not everybody's process, so. Alrighty. Just getting some of the stuff in. There. So kind of doing the GW gem thing. It's going to have a pale rim all around it. That's going to be the color of the gem. Then it's going to have a lot of light down here, because when the light enters through the top, it's going to fill and kind of like pool in the bottom. And I want to get this. And by the way, the color we're going to put over this is magenta. And I'm using Rogue Shadow for this, because Rogue Shadow already has a bunch of red in it. Alrighty, let's get in there. Let's try it. And I'm going to use straight up magenta. Then I'm going to highlight it. So that shadow should start to look purple. I may need to do a little bit of mixing around the outer edge. I'm going to grab my pink. And now boing. Let's get this cleaned up. I've got a little bit of mucky stuff up there. Need to clean it up a little bit. My magenta was a little strong. I may have wanted to use Runic Glow on this, but I really wanted the darkness of the magenta. So what I'll do is just bring in a little bit more magenta. There we go. We're messing around with it. That lets us still drag our pink in, but not like hugely, you know? It's just like this model has just little hints of pink to draw your eye. It's not meant to be like the main color. So I'm liking that so far. Yeah, the thing is just to figure out where your light is coming from. Since my highest highlight is right up here, boom, and I decided to do a second highlight in there just because I could. It's just more a style thing than a realism thing. But usually it goes where your shadow should be kind of at the top of your gem, right where the light is coming from, and your white highlight goes in the, you know, over the top of that shadow. Because the light hitting there is what's pooling down here. So now I do have a lot of dark around the outside of this gem still. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my candlelight yellow and white, and I am going to trim it in. So my lining got a little bit extreme here, so I'm going to thin the dark around this. And if I'm still seeing a lot of dark, then I need to put magenta over it. But some of it's going to be lining and some of it's going to be just that I didn't pull the magenta all the way down. So that's thinner. That's getting better. And now I just want to get a little bit more light down there. Yeah, this is a gem that's big enough and the right shape to make a star sapphire or a star gem. Any type of star gem. I just didn't want to do that with this one, so I wanted to be more simple with it. Though star would go with a, kind of go with a sun priest, but better with a moon priest. So if you did this model in very cool colors and did it celestial but moon, then I think it would go a little better with a star gem. There we go. Excellent. So I'm liking that a lot. I'm looking to see if I need to touch up my liner anywhere. I think I just need to put a little bit of purple over the bottom. And it does still look kind of purple, and that's because the black plus magenta makes purple. Makes a different purple than blue plus magenta. But as we are not using blue on this model, that's the closest we've got. All right, now we're going to block in the armor as our last stage of the day. Although I probably should reinforce some of the shading back here first, since I've got this brown mixed up. But I kind of like the pink shadows, so I don't necessarily want to change them. I just want to add a little bit more. Add a little bit more shadow to some areas. And tiny place of those really tight folds. So I'm putting this brown. Yeah, pretty good. So we've lost a little bit of the pink as I pulled it out, but we've also put in a more naturalistic shadow on the underside there. So that's good. All right. I'll just paint it a dark color. I've already kind of started to shade it in, as you can see. There's not enough room to do a wood grain on it, Agent Marble. So just flood it with your liner or your walnut or whatever you're using. Whenever they're held this close to the model, it's just not worth it. Like I can see the handle. Or no, that's not even, I think that's actually a weapon on her other hip. So I can't even see that. I do have sleeves up here, I just noticed, and those probably need to be the white. But yeah, when you've got very little room, just don't even like try to do anything on the back of the shield, because nobody's going to look at it, right? Like if you look at it from any of the viewing points that you would look at the model from, you can't even see the back of the shield. Like those are the viewing angles, and it's always like perpendicular on. So you're never going to be, like this is not a viewing angle. Like there's nothing interesting happening over here. So it's like that's the closest to, these are viewing angles. People aren't going to stop and look here. They're going to do this. They're going to do this. You know. Yeah. Yeah, just block it in. Any pro painter would probably just block it in unless they're trying to show off. I mean, you could technically put a tiny little bit of detail there. So I'm going to use the shadow color as a first coat back on the sleeve back here because it is in shadow. And that's this brown orangey color. And up here I'll do kind of a mixture. And I am going to line the bottom of each sleeve as well. Since I've got all my colors for my cloth, I'm putting off the armor and gonna... Oh, and I just realized that, no, those are gloves. All right, so she's got gloves on. Hello, Manara. How's it going? Oh, and I got my book cover back from for Ingram Spark from my cover designer. So I got that template. So now the last thing that I needed for my cover designer is actually in hand to publish book 1. So now it's all me. I just got to get that story written, the last little bit of story written, and get my book funnel set up and my mailer light set up and my website finished. Although I did work on the website yesterday, so it's getting there. All right, doing just a little bit of lining up here to crisp up this hood. Yeah, we did the shield today, Nara. Alrighty. Looking okay. Gonna go back over to this one. This is all just, like, so much of this needs to be dark. Look, there's like the sleeve, but then there's no detail whatsoever in there. That's a clue that you need to just paint it dark, folks. We'll be careful since we're up against the cape, but we've got our yellows, so if we need to touch up our cape, we can. Now back here you maybe could do a little bit of texture in Aura, because you have a little bit more room back here. Cool. Or sorry, not Aura, Agent Marvel. So like, since you do have enough room back here, you could suggest a little bit, but I would like just do a few lines to suggest the wood grain and then just leave it be. Okay. So we'll have to touch up the edge of the cape there where it got a little bit out of control. That's okay. So the way to do this, because it's a dark color, and you can't just paint yellow over a dark color, is you're going to put down white first to wipe out that lining. My white is thinned, so it's taking a little while. And we're going to grab our pink. You want to essentially make sure that you get rid of any dark artifacts. You want it to kind of be the same kind of shade as the yellow around it. And then you can put your candlelight over the top again once it dries. And you'll end up pretty good. And if you need a little bit brown, because it is kind of behind that shield, so you can totally add in your brown over the top there. Add a little extra shadow. There. And you just have to mess around and, you know, make it all look good. There. Yo, VIP, how's it going? We got yellow. Lots of yellow today. My favorite color. I do need to shade the little, the cloth there. This cloth we put in a darker color, so we need to highlight that. There we are. Cool, thanks. There we go, a little bit of shadow. West Coast, USA, although not, well, actually, yes, originally. I was Reaper staff painter for a long time, VIP. And I created their paint line, which is why I'm doing this, this show. So we handle a lot of paint questions here. A little bit of white there, and let's get a shadow up here, guys. So I'm taking my color that we mixed from the magenta and the yellow, and then we added a little bit of the brown. And we started light up here right under the face, so we'll just add in a little bit of those brown tones there. And we'll re-highlight a little. Yeah, I thought it was going to go that way, Quindy. Thanks for catching those. Yep. Yeah, we don't roll that way, VIP. Sorry. This is a wholesome stream. Go find somebody else. It is the danger of putting yourself out there as a probably even guys get this actually. I was gonna say as a woman, but I know at least one guy who is like minor celebrity in his field who got a lot of awkward female attention. So I can't say that it is just women. Wasn't you actually, huh? Was it Auto? Automod? Or John? You kind of get a feeling about those things, but I always try to give people the benefit of the doubt until they actually cross a line. Then I kind of roll my eyes and go, perhaps you should get a life. Showing my my 80s lineage with that comment. Hey Trash, thanks for the well, Trash is lurking. Well, thank you, Trash. You are not trash. You are anti-trash. Kind of like antimatter. You know, so just to make it cooler. Yeah, it's just too bad that people feel like that's the way they get their happies, is to disrupt other people's stuff and make them uncomfortable. It should be unsettling. I don't know. I mean, Trash just saved me from having to see some really, like, disgusting comments, so I'm feeling pretty good toward Trash lurking. It just makes me roll my eyes. It's like, it's the we've been playing more Overwatch lately, Overwatch 2, and so David and I were on last night, and it wasn't on our team, it was on the opposing team, but one person on their team was actually being really toxic to the rest of his team as we were beating them. I happily reported him, or her. Happily reported them. Very few things in life make me as happy as reporting a really jerk person on Overwatch. Because Blizzard has stated that they're making a really hard effort to eliminate trolling from the game. Like, they're really coming down hard on people who are being abusive and disruptive in chat and stuff. So, it makes me happy. I'm doing my part. Some of the skins in Season 3 look pretty killer, Beguiler. Season 2 we didn't play a lot because the WoW expansion came out and I was at least getting my character up to max level. But then David kind of had a crisis where he wasn't sure if he was going to stay with the guild, and it kind of killed my impulse to like raid with them. So I was actually planning to raid with him for a while, but now I'm kind of like, I don't know. I kind of explained that to him and he gets it. He was looking, maybe he got frustrated with his guild for a while. He's still with them, and I'm still with them, but yeah. But we didn't play as much Overwatch, but now that, you know, he's got his characters topped out, and he still runs Mythics and everything, but he's more into, like, he wanted to play some Overwatch with me last night, so. I will say that Ramatra is just too darn strong. Too darn strong. And I agree with Custa that Kuriko enables overpowered tanks. Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, I don't run into too many in Overwatch, to be fair. Blizzard is good at least in Overwatch, the Overwatch team is good at chasing down people. If you report them. This is why I'm like, to David, I'm like, always report them. Always report them. If you don't report them, you've got no right to complain when they come into your games. But yeah, we don't play competitive, and that helps too. Like I used to play competitive, but and it's two things, right? Like the competitive scene is like, on the one hand, you get people who actually care, but on the other hand, you get some toxicity from that. And judginess. So I just decided that I wasn't going to do Overwatch competitive anymore, so we just play quick play. Which is still lots of fun. And special events. Really? I played Mercy yesterday, and I don't like... I was never a super high-level Mercy, understand that, even though for a while, when the game first started, I was very much a Mercy one-trick. But I never learned, like, I can do Super Leap, but I never learned some of the finer... Like, whenever I do a, like, kind of hovering backwards kind of thing, it's purely accidental. Or at least, you know, before. But I'm okay with, I mean, Mercy was pretty okay. I mean, we won. I think we won 8 out of 9 games last night. We did have a very a good player, DPS friend of ours, show up halfway through that, so he's no doubt part of why we continue to win. But like, I pretty much at this point I play Mercy and Lucio exclusively, unless I've been trying to practice my Brig and my Ana. I tried Kuriko, but I'm not very good at her, so I feel like I need more practice. Yeah, lurk. Yeah, prepping a home move. Oof, trash. Yeah. Yeah, I hope it goes smoothly too. That can be such a disruption. And you always feel like you're stuck between lives until you, like, actually move. Like, you can't, like, settle in where you were because you're moving. And you can't settle in where you are because you're not moved yet. I always feel like I'm spread between 2 lives at that point. It's just, like, this weird hovering feeling. But I think, I mean, okay, the core of Mercy's kit is still the same, right? So when they start doing big changes where I can no longer play her intuitively, then I'm going to be more upset, because if they like drop her boosting beam or something, where I'm doing the wrong thing when I am, like, instinctually doing something because I played her for so many years, then I'm going to be upset. But right now, I was still able to help my team, so... So I think we are going to, obviously we didn't get to the bronze, but I realized that we also forgot to shade this side, so I am going to just block in some orange-brown, and I'll tackle it real quick. Oh, and I was about to start it, but the stream's almost over, Slalom. Because I do an hour and a half here. I have done a lot of past non-metallic metal. Oh, we've got Corgi. I did this one for my Patreon. I was doing NMM bronze, so I was working on his breastplate and his leg there. But But I do a lot of NMM on this channel. I've got a couple of examples. But if you go to Reaper's YouTube and you look for Reaper Pro Tips, like that's me, almost every model is going to have some NMM on it. So this is another model that we did a lot of little touches of metal details. We haven't done a big, like, lots of metal project for a while. She's just got little touches of it, like on the sword. So if you went and looked for the Ghost Walker, you could find her sword that we did. Yeah. But every show I've ever done, Solomon, and I'm warning you, it's like 500 episodes at this point. Every one we do, I do a lot of NMM. So, like, again, the knee on Mr. Genie here. And we're just blocking in the metal on the back here. And he's an ongoing project. He's not done yet. So, yeah. I do a lot. You can look at the Reaper YouTube and if you look at, like, a given model, you can kind of, like, look at that model. Once you have the SKU, you can just search for it. If it looks like it's got metal on it, and just go through, look at the little... look at the beginning of the stream and you'll see if that was the one I did the NMM on. I'm just kind of doing some quick painting of the white over the top to fade out our orangey color here. You can see how when the orangey color takes up a whole lot of room, it looks a lot brighter. But once you dim it down by painting the off-white over it, you knock back that orange and it ends up reading more as a brown. So yeah, so we'll end it just in a second. I just want to get this, since I had these colors open, I just want to get this to a decent stopping point, and then Quindy can move on with her life for another day. Get through back here, and we do want to bring up kind of a shadow underneath here too. But yeah, Solomon, we do like a 6 model rotation on this show, so at any given point I could be doing NMM. NMM will probably be the next thing we do on this model though. So in like next week, I guess. Next week, Monday, maybe? So I just put a dark shadow underneath there. Now I need to blend that in a little bit. I'll do that by taking my orangey brown and doing a little bit of blending to bring that darker shadow in. And that'll blend that shadow so it looks more like a drop shadow. Okay, that's got it pretty good. There we go. Now we're looking more like the white on the other side. We'll still have a lot of things to pick up. But yeah, there we go. Okay, tomorrow, actually, speaking of metal, we do have a fully armored model coming up, and I just remembered it. So this is the one we've been working on, Slalom, which is, she's a succubus actually, but I spent a lot of time on the wings, and we highlighted the hair last time. So now it is time to start on the metal. And as you can see, there is a lot of it. So this is, for your reference, Slalom, in case you cannot be on tomorrow, make a note of SKU. This is the Reapercon Dungeoneer Sophie, and her number is 390, so 30090. And that way, if you want, you can go and search Reaper's YouTube, because these episodes go up pretty quick after I do them. Within a couple days, I think, usually, right, Quindy? You can just search for that and find the episodes that I do the metal armor on. It's probably going to take us several sessions to paint all this armor. Yeah. Yep, so now we will do the metal, and it'll be fun. It'll be fun. Because it's a really nicely detailed figure, so yeah. So yes, so there you go, and if you can't catch us tomorrow when I'm talking about the start of it, we'll probably do a base coat and then do some lining and then do the shadows. I tend to block in shadows first and then do highlights with my NMM. So that's what we'll be doing on this show. And it starts, Slalom, it starts at 11:30 a.m. USA Central Time. So an hour and a half or more ago, since I've gone quite late today. I've been doing that lately. Doing more than my allotted time. Poor Quindy. All right. So I'm going to leave you guys, and of course, well, Luca will prevent me from doing that tomorrow. Thanks, Luca. But yes, so we will do Sophie tomorrow, and we'll tackle the beginning of the armor, and we will decide. No, Luca, what? Who's going to keep me under wraps here? Who's going to keep me from going terribly overtime on my stream? That slacker. Yep. Thank you all. Thank you all. Oh, he's in the U.S. You might show up. Uh-oh. Don't let him mod the stream. Don't let him mod the stream. All right, guys. I hope you have a lovely day, and I will be back tomorrow morning with the Sophie. All right. Yeah. Hasta la vista.